What's up, everyone? Today we are diving into a wild, bonkers moment on the tarmac that'll make you rethink how we treat equipment, and how seriously we take the people who handle it. Imagine this: a baggage handler at LAX unloading a cart full of guitar cases, and the way he hurls those cases off the cart makes you wince. Not just careless, almost like a deliberate, over-the-top act of musical disrespect. And then the internet explodes with reactions from musicians, fans, and industry folks who see their livelihoods reflected in those rigid, glossy guitar cases. So what really happened, and what does it reveal about jobs, safety, and how we value art in transit? Let's break it down, with some sharp questions and some not-so-obvious angles. First, I want to acknowledge the core tension here, a very tangible threat to gear that musicians rely on to make a living. For many players, a guitar isn't just an instrument, it's a partner in touring, writing, and income. When videos surface showing cases being tossed or dropped carelessly, the implicit question isn't just about one bad day on a runway, it's about how fragile the logistics chain is for creative work in a global system designed for speed. What this moment highlights is not simply mistakes happen, but how easily a single moment of negligence can ripple across tours, budgets, and futures. In my view, the bigger takeaway is that backstage trust, between the people who move gear and the people who rely on it, needs stronger safeguards, clearer accountability, and visible standards. Now, the material facts we can extract without getting lost in the drama. You've got a luggage handler on the tarmac interacting with guitar cases, with footage that has sparked millions of views and intense reactions from artists and fans alike. Some of the responses aren't just moral outrage, they are calls for systemic change, better training, better equipment, better supervision. What this really suggests is a friction point in the supply chain where human behavior, operational incentives, and the ethics of art collide. If we zoom out, this is part of a broader trend. As music becomes increasingly global and tours expand, the journey from stage to stage becomes a high-stakes cross-border operation. Small mistakes compound into reputational harm, costly repairs, or replacement costs that ripple through a band's negotiation leverage and budgeting. One thing that immediately stands out is the emotional weight of the response from musicians and industry voices. In my opinion, fans often assume gear is rugged enough to survive anything, but the truth is guitars are delicate assets with sentimental and monetary value. This isn't just about breaking even on broken cases, it's about trust. If an instrument that travels millions of miles over its lifetime is treated like generic luggage, you're signaling to creators that their craft isn't worth protection. From my perspective, that matters beyond a viral clip. It shapes how new artists perceive a career in music logistics, and it influences how venues, airlines, and festival organizers invest in training and risk controls. What makes this really interesting is how it exposes the social contract around labor and art. The baggage handler's actions, whether intentional or not, become a lightning rod for debates about dehumanization in low-wattage logistics roles, where workers operate under pressure to maintain schedules. If you take a step back, this incident invites us to consider the human stories behind the bags. The traveler who just landed from JFK, the musician who's counting on a guitar arriving in one piece, the tech crew member who has to improvise when gear is damaged. A detail I find fascinating is how fast digital audiences attach moral narratives to physical actions. It's not just about the act itself, it's about what that act reveals about workplaces, accountability, and the value placed on art in transit. Deeper insight here points to a possible shift in how airports and airlines communicate about gear handling. What this really suggests is that public scrutiny can drive improved protocols, like dedicated gear handling teams, reinforced padding, standardized loading procedures, and swift damage reporting. The broader trend is toward specialized, risk-aware handling for high-value items in mass transportation ecosystems. That could mean more protective policies, insurance clarity, and even new job roles that bridge the gap between logistics and artistry. If you look at it from an industry lens, these moments are wake-up calls that force a conversation about investment in staff training and the ethics of care for artists' livelihoods. Let me speculate a bit on the implications. Could airline hubs start offering certification programs for handlers who deal with musical gear, similar to how cargo and hazardous materials get trained? That would raise the baseline competence and create accountability trails. Could we see partnerships between airlines and music industry unions to negotiate better protection measures and compensation in cases of damage? It wouldn't just preserve gear, it would preserve the ability of artists to tour, write, and perform, which is essential for cultural ecosystems. What this also reveals is how fragile the working memory of a touring cycle is. One moment of rough handling, and an entire tour could face delays, cancelled shows, or budget crunches that affect crew, vendors, and local communities that rely on live music economies. For viewers who might be thinking, is this really a big deal? I'd say yes, because it spotlights how value is safeguarded, or not, in motion. If a guitar costs thousands, or tens of thousands when you factor in upgrades, maintenance, and gear setups, then the risk calculus changes. This raises a deeper question about how we treat professionals who operate behind the scenes. My sense is that when fans see a viral clip, they want justice or accountability, but they also want reforms that prevent recurrence. The right takeaway isn't vengeance, it's reform, better handling practices, better oversight, and a culture that treats artistic tools with care proportionate to their impact on livelihoods. Closing thought, this incident isn't just about one careless moment, it's a mirror held up to the ecosystems that keep music alive on the road. If the industry responds with stronger training, transparent reporting, and proactive protection of gear, then we'll see a healthier, more sustainable touring landscape. And if not, we'll keep watching these moments repeat, with more expensive repairs and more frustrated artists. So here's a question for you. What specific changes would you like to see in luggage handling when it comes to high-value gear? And how should responsibility be shared among airlines, venues, and artists to prevent these moments from happening again? Let me know in the comments, and tell me which part of this topic you want us to unpack next.